Fasten your seatbelt. I am taking you for the ride of your life. I'm going to show you what this car can really do. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Hang on.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hold on to your butts.
Go get him, kid.
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor. Not a tumor at all.
F?
You're going to ask me. So you can go ahead and ask me what you're going to ask me. And my natural response could be to get offended.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right.
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week, 30 years in the making. 30-something movie podcast. Party time. Excellent. Woo, 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 woo. Woo. Party on, Pat.
Party on, John.
If you can't tell already, this episode is Wayne's World.
Yes.
Episode number 426. I feel like we just did 400 not that long ago, and it's like
I
now
know.
we're already, yeah.
They are going down like water.
Mm-hmm.
Does water go down? I think it goes down.
It does.
If there's water in your ceiling, it definitely goes down.
Yeah, and ultimately in the basement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, that's how it gets flooded. Oh, hi there, dude.
Yeah, the doodle's coming over to say hello.
Hey there, dude.
Because the doodle was jumping up on the table.
Oh.
He's got monster ups.
Oh,
he can get anywhere.
Did he put on his platform shoes and sing Tequila?
Yeah, that's right. Well, no, he gets up there and he finds things that are up there, like my son's recent Lego project, and he doesn't chew things up like dogs that I've had, but he plays hockey with them across the floor. So he'll bat things. He'll bat things around.
Pat, things that are high are interesting.
Well, of course,
like things on the table and Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, that's it, man.
So it is. We are talking Wayne's World this time around.
Yeah, we are.
And like I said,
we are.
Episode 426. So like we're already marching on ahead here for. We got to start talking 500 here pretty soon. That's a little weird.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would if I can tease my son for a second. I will say that we are a little over 4 1/4 of the way through the 400s. He doesn't like it when we refer to time in like quarters, like quarter till or quarter past or half past. Or he doesn't like that. He doesn't like fractional time.
Oh, does he like the more precision, like 425 or
yes.
425, 415?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So he does like if you say 20 till 5, he doesn't care for that.
Gotcha.
So sometimes I'll tease him about things, and I'll be like, "Oh, well, you know that thing that I bought for you the other day? You owe me a quarter to $16."
Yeah, that's awesome.
He does not care for that. So,
yeah.
So that made me think of we're a quarter past 400, but we do spoil things. So just this is your only warning. We spoil freely here. We're just going to talk and talk freely and just let the much like the Force, let the conversation flow through us.
Yeah.
And then visit our website, 30podcast.com, where you can leave a rating, a voicemail. You could become a co-executive producer via Patreon, and any level of support on there gets you bonus content, usually 2 shorts, 2 quick little like 15-minute episodes per month, 1 longer episode, and then there's different tiers for how you want to interact with the show, if you want to come on an episode with us, if you want to tell us what to watch, if you want to find a movie that you know Pat will hate and make him watch it.
Yep.
Those are some of our different tiers that we've got on Patreon. Pat, this month, if someone were to join Patreon this month, what would be our full-length bonus episode that they will get to hear this month?
You're going to hear all about motorcycle movies.
Mm-hmm.
Movies that feature motorcycles that feature in movies. It's all about the motorcycle, man.
Pat, I also made sure that I had at least one sound ready to go for the motorcycle episode.
Oh, you know which one.
So I may just let that play in the background the entire time we're recording.
That would be That would be awesome. Just have a Harley sound in the back.
Yeah.
That'd be very cool.
I did find
That'd be very cool.
I did find a 15-minute video of somebody riding was it a Kawasaki Ninja through the streets of a city somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was purely just for the sound. It was like, I mean, you could see them like riding through traffic, but it was they had amped up the sound on it. So
right.
Like, I guess we could just do that as our sound background for that episode.
I think any or all of that would be fine. I don't see any problem with that.
I knew I would get no pushback from you. So
no, I'm fine. I'm all good with that.
We're all
things
fine.
good. Speaking of motors and focusing on this episode, 426.
Yeah.
Rang a bell. That was the cubic inches of the famous Hemi muscle car motor that Dodge made.
Ah.
It was a 426 Hemi. That was like the motor.
I was not aware of that.
I want to say that was the motor that was banned in NASCAR.
Oh, okay.
Because back like NASCAR, when it was like a little bit more stock cars and the factories all had to make them before a little bit more the spec kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
I want to say that was when they came out with it was called the Hemi motor for various mechanical reasons that we don't need to go into because it's a Wayne's World podcast.
Yeah, sure.
But it was 426 cubic inches, and you could get it on the street, and the thing was powerful. Yeah. It was fast. Nice. And I want to say that was the motor that was the Dodge Daytona that was the Plymouth Roadrunner. Okay. And it was banned by NASCAR. Richard Petty drove it. Yeah. And it was banned by NASCAR because it was so powerful.
Oh, nice.
In fact, little trivia, that was the car that the King that Richard Petty voices in Cars. Mm-hmm. He voices, and that was the car. That was that was the cartoon kind of drawing of the Dodge Daytona.
Nice. Very cool.
Sorry, man. 426. It triggered. I couldn't figure out. I'm like, why is that number like,
No, that's fine. This has been Car Talk with Pat.
I was just gonna say, you fire up the motors, and now I'm just start blah 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 blah.
All right, there you go. All right. Well, are you ready to dive into Wayne's World?
Dude, what a great movie. Yes. Yeah. Yes, we must.
Let's do it.
We must.
All right. So this one is obviously Wayne's World. It came out. I did point this out to my lovely wife that had we been dating each other when this movie came out, we could have gone to see it for Valentine's Day because this came out on the 14th of February, 1992.
Oh,
a date movie.
Wow.
Pat, would you have used this as a date movie?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because all the gals I'd be dating would be into this kind of stuff. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. I don't know if I would have. I don't know. That's a borderline. Well, I mean, granted, Sharon did stick around with me after we spent quite a long time watching the Saturday Night Live. I always had like the best of Saturday Night Live collections on VHS.
Okay.
And I feel like half the time she came over to our house, we were watching those. So if she sat through all the Saturday Night Live stuff that I made her sit through.
Yeah.
Super Bassomatic 76, the All Drug Olympics, James Brown's Hot Tub.
Yeah, that's all right there. Yeah, this would have easily, because I'll be honest, I'm trying to think of the movies that I've watched while out on a date. This was one of them. Well, this could be one of them, I should say, because White Man Can't Jump. White Man Can't Jump was one of them.
Okay.
And what was the one with the vampires from a long time ago?
Lost Boys?
Lost Boys. Yeah. Lost Boys was another date movie. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So this could easily have been a date movie.
Okay. All right.
This should be a date movie. I'll have to go tell Tammy.
Well, there you go. You guys have something to watch now. Did she watch it with you when you watched it?
She did not for this go around.
Okay.
Yeah, I brought it up and she's immediately quoting it. She's like, "Sha, as if," like all that stuff.
Yeah. I watched it with Sharon and Nora, and I think Nora definitely enjoyed some of the physical comedy, and I think she liked some of Garth's quirkiness.
Yeah, and we're going to get into it, but it is just so good, and we'll get into it, but yeah. I thought I was waiting. I was really trying to be like super critical and say, okay, is there going to be some stuff that's kind of like, nothing. Really. Like the comedic timing, the timing of it, like how they pause, how they let some lines cook, and then how they let some lines people react to them.
Yeah,
it was just absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
What they did with this movie. It was amazing. It's great. It's fantastic.
This one is rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour and 34 minutes. Not a short movie too, not a very long one.
No.
Yeah. Directed by Penelope Spheris. I didn't realize it was directed by a woman. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. She directed Suburbia and the 1994 version of The Little Rascals. Writers were Mike Myers, Bonnie Turner, and Terry Turner. Myers also wrote Austin Powers and a bunch of Saturday Night Live skits when he was on there. Both of the Turners, Bonnie and Terry, wrote Third Rock from the Sun and Tommy Boy. Producer on this one was Lorne Michaels from Saturday Night Live and 30 Rock. Music was done by J. Peter Robinson, who also did Cocktail and New Nightmare. Cinematography done by Theo Van de Sande, I think is how you say that. I don't know if it was like Jan de Bont, if it was Theo Van de Sande, or I don't know. Theo, if you're listening, if you'd like to, you can write in and tell us, or send in a voicemail and tell us how to pronounce your name. He did cinematography for Blade and Volcano. And the editor on this one was Malcolm Campbell, who also did Blues Brothers and Coming to America. The budget was $20 million. The box office was $183.1 million. Flickmetrics gives it a 67%, and CinemaScore gives it an A-. Starring Mike Myers as Wayne Campbell. He was in Shrek and Austin Powers. Dana Carvey was Garth Algar. He was in This Is Spinal Tap and Clean Slate. Rob Lowe was Benjamin Oliver. Benjamin is nobody's friend, just in case anybody was wondering.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole thing about an ice cream flavor, too. But he was in St. Elmo's Fire and The West Wing. Tia Carrere was Cassandra. She was in True Lies and Lilo and Stitch. Brian Doyle Murphy was Noah Vanderhoff. He was in Caddyshack, Christmas Vacation, and Asphincter Says What?
What?
Exactly. Laura Flynn Boyle played Stacy, or / Psycho Hosebeast, if you refer to her by her given name. She was in Men in Black 2 and The Practice. Michael DeLuise played Alan. He was in Encino Man and NYPD Blue. Dan Bell played Neil. He was in Dark Man and Gone in 60 Seconds. Lee Tergesen played Terry. He was in Oz and Monster, and he loves you, man.
I love you too. I forget what he says. Just say okay. Okay, man.
Just say thank you.
What was it? Just say thank you. That's what it was. I can't remember. Because there was one he's like, no, you don't, man. No, you don't. Just say thank you.
And I have learned that platonic love can exist between two grown men. Speaking of Russell, Kurt Fuller played Russell. He was in The Running Man and Ghostbusters 2. Sean Sullivan was Phil. He was in bad shape at the beginning of this movie. But if you're going to spew into this. He was in Back to the Future Part 3.
I'm sorry. But about Phil, he's like only not in bad shape when they go to the auto shop. He's always in bad shape whenever they're out at the gasworks, which I love.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
Because I think at some point we've all had a friend that was a Phil.
Yes. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into it.
Everybody has a Phil. He was in Back to the Future Part 3 and 54. Colleen Camp played Mrs. Vanderhoff. She was in Battle for the Planet of the Apes and Clue. Donna Dixon played the Dream Woman. She was in Spies Like Us and Twilight Zone the movie. Frederick Coffin, who died in 2003, played Officer Koharski. Do you smell bacon, Pat?
I do believe I smell some pork products.
I definitely smell a pork product of some kind. He was in Hard to Kill and Mother's Day. And then Chris Farley, who died in 1997, played the security guard with an odd amount of very specific information. He was in Tommy Boy and Black Sheep. I believe you had shared some trivia with us. I'm going to thank you this time. I know Bo had done some of the trivia for, and like 3 questions and things like that for some of our last episodes. You took over this time, so thank you very much for pulling the trivia for us and creating the 3 questions and whatnot.
All good, man. All good. It was fun.
So tell me a little bit about what you found here. Well, the first one was kind of interesting.
Well, I'll tell you. And I'm sorry, I'm going to go. I was starting to look at the list, but I might even go in reverse order. So you feel free to prompt me if I go off, but you mentioned Officer Koharski.
Yeah.
And what I found about that is that, there's a lot of references to hockey, right?
Yep.
And the thing with Officer Koharski is Koharski was the name of a referee that in, I think it was the late 80s, and I don't have all the hockey stuff right in front of me, but there was a finals, right? There was a series of games, and there was a Koharski was the ref, and like they weren't, or the official. I'm not an expert hockey, so I might be getting all the terms wrong. But he was the official, and the one coach started didn't like his calls, and they started arguing and stuff as they were coming off the ice, and like as they were arguing and coming off the ice, the official Koharski tripped and fell, and so he starts yelling at the coach like, you push me, and then the coach, you did, no I didn't, you tripped, and I'm sure they were saying about a bunch of other stuff in there, but it boiled down to,
I keep talking. I think I had found the sound of the altercation between them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I don't want to ruin anything, but the bottom line is they go back and forth, and it was all on film, which is kind of a rarity in the 80s. And the final line that Koharski said was, it's all on video. Everyone's going to see it. And the coach it says something like, you tripped, and makes some not so nice things about, him and everything. And, his size, and then ends with saying, why don't you go eat another donut or something like that? So the joke being that, that's Officer Koharski at the donut shop.
Hanging out at Stan Mikita's Donuts. Yeah, let me see if this is the actual audio. It says it is the infamous confrontation from May 6th of 88. So let's see what we got here.
Earlier, 10:48 p.m., Friday night at Brendan Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The red-haired man, of course, is New Jersey Devils coach Jim Schoenfeld. He blocks the exit way of referee Don Koharski. He is waiting for Koharski to come off the ice. He initiates a meeting with Koharski. Words are exchanged, and words are continuing to be exchanged down the runway. It got very heated. That inflammatory situation took place Friday. Almost.
All right. Because you fell, you fat pig. Have another donut.
Yeah. That's the way that came down. That's
All
the
right,
way
so
that came
that's
down.
That's where
there.
we get Officer Koharski from.
That's where we get Koharski, and I just love the like the super exciting, like positive sounding music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That is like backs up these guys just totally cursing each other out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's just funny to me. So there's that, and then there is also the name of Stan Mikita's Donuts is also based off of Tim Hortons, which was named for a hockey player, and they up in Canada, and so they renamed it Stan Mikita's Donuts. So there's a little bit of the most recent kind of stuff, kind of starting with the ends first with some of the fiction and all that kind of stuff.
It also has that part also has what I think is one of the funniest lines in the whole thing. It's the moment. Oh, see, I thought I had the sound here. I think I had the sound here somewhere. But it's the moment where they walk into Stan Mikita's Donuts. And then the next thing you know, you've got the Glenn is the owner.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I thought I had the sound queued. I'll have to put the sound in later.
Okay.
I had the sound queued up, but that's one of my favorite parts when the camera pans to him. He's like, I've never done a crazy thing in my life before that night. Why is it that if a man kills another man in battle, it's called heroic? That if he kills a man in the heat of passion, it's called murder.
This is Stan Mikita's Donuts. Excellent Munchables. This is the manager, Glenn. He's here 24 hours a day. I recommend the Sugar Pucks. They're excellent. Come on.
I'd never done a crazy thing in my life before that night. Why is it? If a man kills another man in battle, it's called heroic. Yet if he kills a man in the heat of passion, it's called murder.
Hello! What do you think you're doing? Only me and Garth get to talk to the camera. Come on.
I don't really have too much to say right now. What's that?
Hi, Mr. Withers. How's the amusement park going?
Just great, Wayne.
Yeah. And it's funny because my kids, it was maybe last year, my kids had heard about breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And they were all curious about what does it mean to break the fourth wall? And so I was talking to them about it. We were discussing it. And then I said, well, here's a great example. And I brought that up. And we're going to get into this, but the attention to detail in this movie, like when they come walking in and Wayne's talking to the camera and everything's fine, but then the way he's looking at the camera, like I love how when Wayne's talking and introducing Glenn is just staring at the camera like totally deadpan. Yeah. And the reason the camera follows him, he gives that little that real small little nod, like, hey, come here. And it just fits. And then Wayne, hey, hello, and then comes back. And then Garth tries to talk to the camera, but what's that? And then he runs away. All that just, oh my gosh, it is so detail-oriented humor, and it's just so well to put together. I mean, it's just so well crafted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So should we keep firing with the trivia, or should we save it and put it in?
Yeah, give me a couple more trivias.
Well, here's the one, and I kind of jumped off with the amazing music that was in this, and that is that Dana Carvey did his own drumming, and Tia Carrere did her own singing, which I think is very cool. And I know Dana Carvey drummed because it's Saturday Night Live he would do it, and then also when he was the church lady, right? Yes. Mm-hmm. There were times that he, as the church lady, would get up there and play drums, which was very cool. Now, I've never heard him like sit in with a group or back a band or all that. I mean, I don't know that, but I've heard like the solo stuff that he does is part of the act. Tia Carrere singing, and right before we signed on, I just double checked it to make sure I have it right. But yeah, they said Tia Carrere did her own singing, and that's pretty common. Like she's got a couple of albums out and even did some singing and voice work in other movies, and I just think that's pretty cool. And I gotta be honest, man, she sounds fantastic. Like I think she sounds really good, especially on, all the tunes. Really, she sounds really good on everything. But the one that really stands out is the "Touch Me." Ain't got no reason. I'm gonna mess up all the words. That's the tune of it. She sounds amazing on that song. And all of it. So I was very impressed with all of that, and I think that's pretty cool that she did all that work.
You had in here too that she had turned down a role on Baywatch for this.
Yeah. I mean, it's not my place to like judge in terms of that. But my gosh, I'm sure glad she did this because I think this is epic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'll watch Wayne's World once or twice a year. I mean, it's just, yeah. So let's check out a few more of these music things, and going along with maybe some cameos and stuff. We had Meatloaf as the bouncer at the Gasworks, which was very cool. And
so it's not just a clever name.
That's right. Oh man, they stink. Yeah, that's awesome. We're talking about music. We have the appearance of Bohemian Rhapsody, which was very cool. And I was talking with our co-host Jeff today, and Jeff is a pretty big fan of Queen. Yeah. And more than just like the 4 songs that everybody knows, Jeff knows them. But what's interesting is he said
when Jeff goes to karaoke, he chooses to sing the 7 Seas of Rye.
There it is.
It's like that level of Queen knowledge.
I think so, because I might be way off. Like the next time he's on, he might be like, Pat, I don't know what you're talking about, but I want to say like Jeff is pretty knowledgeable with Queen.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he had said like I had never heard Bohemian Rhapsody until this movie came out, and I know I didn't. I wasn't aware of it. Yeah. And I guess what was happening in that time is that Queen had kind of fallen out of. I don't want to say fallen out of favor, but Queen wasn't as popular. In fact, they on their world,
I think, yeah,
in the States and on their world tour, they had no U.S. dates on their world tour. Now, when this movie came out, it did, and I won't give spoilers. It did what I think Why can't I think of the show? I won't give us. Stranger Things does for a lot of artists. I'll keep it like this in case there's people that haven't seen Stranger Things, where they'll put on a tune and then suddenly it becomes like it helps it catapult that and the artist back to popularity.
Sure. Yeah.
And they said that after Bohemian Rhapsody came out in this movie, Queen, both the song, everything rose like astronomically in popularity. And unfortunately, Freddie Mercury didn't live to see that. But Brian May claimed that he did approve of Mike Myers using the song in this movie. And Mike Myers did send a copy of the scene to him just so he could see it. And he said Mike Myers claims he was a little worried that, that he wasn't going to be happy to see how they treated his music, but supposedly he loved it and thought it was great. And Queen kind of flew back in popularity.
Oh, and it's probably the most iconic scene of the whole movie.
Oh, totally. And it's just excellent. I mean, and like I said, when I heard it, I'm like, what is that tune? And then you hear the whole tune and just realize how awesome that is.
Yeah.
And now we've got movies coming out, just biopics about Queen, which
Right.
I think is great.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely great. Speaking of musical acts in here, we got Alice Cooper in the movie.
Yes.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's funny. I was talking to Tammy the other night. Alice Cooper's another guy that like I know his songs. He's almost like a household name where like everybody's heard of him.
Yeah.
He's still out there touring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Band sounds great. He sounds great. The whole deal. But my gosh, it's like when he showed up, I remember like standing up in the theater, like just so fired up that he was there. Great song, totally entertaining. And the way they wrote it in where he gives the little monologue about the history of Milwaukee.
That was, I had
Great.
a few years ago, I had to go up to Milwaukee for a work thing. There was like a meeting up in Milwaukee for a technology deal.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was going up there, I think I had stopped. I think I got there early. And so it was I was way early. So I didn't have, I had a little bit of time before I had to go into the building that we were going to be at. And I was sitting out in my car and for some reason I was just like, I'm just going to put something up on Facebook. And so I posted on Facebook and I did the whole thing. And I was like, well, I'm in Milwaukee for a work thing today. I don't come to Milwaukee often, but Milwaukee has certainly had its share of visitors. French missionaries and explorers were coming here as early as the late 1600s to trade with the Native Americans. In fact, Milwaukee is actually pronounced Milwaukee, which is Algonquin for the good land. And I'm so thankful that one of my cousins, because I didn't put any pictures of Wayne's World. I didn't do anything like that. I just posted that on Facebook. And one of my cousins just replied back and was like, I was not aware of that.
That's
like,
awesome.
Thank you. That was, I dropped it. You picked it up. Thank you so much.
There it is. That's why we're related right there.
Does this guy know how to party or what?
Yeah. Yeah. And then they all look at him and you think it's going to go downhill, but and he's like, well, we got to head out. And he's like, no, why don't you hang out with us? Yeah. Stick around. And he's like, we'd love to hang around with you.
With
oh
Alice
my gosh.
Cooper.
I know.
We're not worthy.
And Alice Cooper, like I've never met the guy, but everything I've read is man, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I know, you read about it. He talks about his struggles with alcoholism, but like they say that the stuff I read said that he was kind of getting through that by like the mid 80s. And now he would help other groups that were struggling with addiction and all that. And he talks about like being on tours with groups and trying to help them out, and do all that kind of stuff. And I've read, and they say that he's kind of a history buff. And like, I don't know if that exact scene would happen backstage, but they say that he was like that. And that more often than not, he's out playing golf and just kind of hanging out. And I'm just like, that's just so cool.
See, that's outstanding. And that's what I'm going to assume. Like for the rest of my life, I will just assume that he's backstage at his concerts, just holding court and sharing historical facts with people.
Yeah. That would be awesome. Well, and he talked about like, hey, I'm still out here. I'm like, what is he, 72 or 3 now?
Oh, he's got to be.
And
now,
yeah, well, here it is, 1948. and was his birth year. And I mean, he talks about that, and I think he's been married to the same person. Like I've reading the bio, married to the same person since the 70s or 80s, and it's just, you know, and it's funny. I was reading about that, and he's like, "Hey, here's the secret to that: is just make sure you have date nights." And I'm just like, I mean, that just seems like such a down to earth guy, right?
Right.
I just, yeah, I'm fascinated, and I really want this to be like a catalyst for listening to more of his music and all that kind of stuff. So,
well, that's admittedly, I really don't know as much of his music as I thought I might have.
Right.
I really only know a handful of songs at best. So that kind of made me go back and start to listen through a few of them. But yeah, I kind of realized I really don't know much about his music at all.
Well, and he's been recording since the 70s.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, it's
there's plenty to choose from.
Right. So I just think that's pretty sweet. Yeah. They said in there that his band was supposed to include Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, and then I knew it as Elvira, named Cassandra Peterson, and Nikki Sixx were all supposed to be playing in the band and have cameos, but they, for one reason or another, they couldn't make it. But that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna pick the last. If you don't mind, I will pick the last of the trivia that we're gonna look at right now, and then and we'll fit some in later on. But the one that I thought was the funniest was the one about how hard the movie was to translate into other languages. Right.
That was
because how do you translate? And monkeys might fly out of my butt. I mean, how does you know, why don't you talk for a second? I'm going to go to Google Translate. I'm going to see how that translates.
You go ahead.
You vamp for a second, and I will buy me some time.
Well, that is sort of like Star Trek, The Voyage Home, when Kirk's walking around and not sure how to, you know, cuss the guy out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, that is totally right out of that type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're you know, well, I can't repeat it because we're a family-friendly podcast, but just not, you know, Captain, your use of colorful metaphors, and they don't fully understand what they all mean. Like it almost would have like no meaning in another language.
Mm-hmm.
And to be completely honest with you, does it really have any meaning in our language?
Oh, it means a lot. It means a lot to me.
Well, of course it does, but it's like, and I guess it's sort of like, oh man, if hell, you know, that'll happen when hell freezes over, you know, I mean, so you get that, but I just don't know if other people turn a phrase like that.
Oui, et les singes pourront s'envoler de mes fesses. I probably pronounced that so wrong.
Well, it sounded good.
But that was French, and literally it comes out as yes, and the monkeys might fly off my butt. So actually, it's not too far off.
No, that's not too far off.
Okay, I don't.
That's not too far off.
I don't know colloquially. I don't know what that means in French, but
yeah. Well, and they said that in one of the countries, like the Laverne and Shirley thing was completely lost on them.
Oh, we had it. Well, yeah. When Nora was watching this with us, we had to pause and kind of explain what that scene was.
Yeah, and that one wasn't as surprising, you know, just because I would imagine there's other references about in other countries about, you know, films and stuff that's in their culture. And like you said, like, you know, we grew up and those shows were only like reruns from 20 years before.
Right.
Now, you know, that could be
when I was looking up options for our motorcycle episode that we're going to be doing for this month, I was watching one of the videos from Terminator 2.
Mm-hmm.
And Nora happened to walk by, and I go, "Hey, does that police officer look familiar?" She's like, "Maybe." I'm like, "Yeah, it was the guy in Wayne's World." Oh yeah, he shows him the photo and asks him, "Have you seen this boy?"
Yeah.
Yep. There we go.
Right. Oh, that's good stuff. Well, I had a lot of fun looking up all the trivia of this movie because there's just so many interesting spots, and I know we'll let some of it come out, you know, as we go.
Yeah.
But it was definitely some interesting stuff behind it.
Some of the trivia might fly out our butts.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows?
Exactly. Well, and I also found there's another phrase that gets used often, you know, by just about everybody that was popular in The Office and popular in this movie. And I found out where that phrase came from, and that was very interesting.
Yeah. A lot of people assume The Office is the first place.
Yeah, and I mean, then these folks had even traced it back to like Old England. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
yeah,
I think I actually have the audio clip right here. Let's go with that.
Through yet? Because I'm getting tired of holding this. Yeah, that's what she said.
I mean, yeah, let's just say that can be used a lot.
Oh,
and there's various sources that places that gets used. Obviously, The Office and then Wayne's World. And the research I did said Chevy Chase in a Saturday Night Live skit in the 70s was the first to really kind of bring that line back out.
Oh, did he really? Okay.
But according to the research I did, the line actually has its roots in an Old English phrase that was something like "says the actress to the bishop." And have you heard about this?
Vaguely, yes.
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was sort of like, and I'm reading someone else's description, but they said that, you know, the implication being that, you know, the actresses from whenever this time period when this happened lived a little bit more of a rough and I don't want to say rough, but a little bit more of a promiscuous lifestyle, and would then need to give confession to the bishop. And so anytime there was a statement that was uttered that could have some innuendo, much like, you know, today we say, you know, that's what she said kind of thing. It was back in the day, they would said, yeah, says the actress to the bishop. You know, so like it was the same principle. Whenever something was said that had a double entendre, you know, there was a phrase to kind of like cap it off and cause laughs and all that kind of thing. So I found it pretty interesting.
I feel like we should start using that from now on.
I think that would be very good.
I think as just another option.
Yes.
Yes.
Always good to have options.
And I think it needs to be kind of said with a British accent and then followed up with the Monty Python wink wink nudge nudge say no more.
Yes. Yeah. I think that definitely needs to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Well, let me tell you a little, if you don't know already, let me tell you a little bit about what this movie is about. And I've decided that I will do a few of these in my best Don LaFontaine impression. In a world that's a big screen spinoff of the Saturday Night Live skit, Rob Lowe plays a producer that wants to take the public access Wayne's World to the world of commercial television. Wayne and Garth battle to save their show and Wayne's girlfriend from Lowe. Here is the trailer, and we'll be back in just a moment.
I see a little silhouette of a man. Scaramouche, will you do the fandango? Thunderbolts and lightning.
Just outside of Chicago.
Galileo.
In the basement of this house.
It's Wayne's World, party time, excellent.
Broadcast history is about to be made.
Extreme close-up. Wow!
I want you to find out who these guys are and where they do their show.
What is this?
Mr. Vanderhoff, this is your audience.
It's two chimps on a Davenport in a basement.
Here I am with the contract for $5,000.
Excuse me?
Now they're on their way.
No way. Wait.
To fame.
Will you still love me when I'm in my carbohydrate sequin jumpsuit? Young girls in white cotton panties, bloated, purple, dead on a toilet face?
To fortune.
Contractor, no. I will not bow to any sponsor.
And to Babe heaven.
What do you do if every time you see this one incredible woman, you think you're gonna hurl?
I say hurl. If you blow chunks and she comes back, she's yours. If you spew and she bolts, it was never meant to be.
Okay.
It's Wade.
This is definitely the type of place I'm gonna get when I move out of my parents' house.
It's Garth.
I love you, Garth.
If she were a president, she'd be Babe-rham Lincoln.
It's a movie.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Wayne's World.
Hi, Wayne.
It just might be the greatest motion picture ever made.
Are you mental? Beelzebub has the devil put aside for me. For me.
Wayne's World.
So this is our major moments portion where we kind of walk you through the plot of the movie. The plot of the movie is not complicated for this one. So we'll kind of zip through this pretty quickly and get on into some of our deeper thoughts, which we've shared a little bit already.
I am so excited for this movie. Like that trailer, and at first you think, oh, the trailer should... No, the trailer... I am so excited. This is such a great movie, John. I mean, that trailer does it justice. Yeah. Just listen... Oh, okay, I'm going to shut up now so you can talk, but my goodness, this is an amazing movie.
Shutting up, sir.
I am not worthy. I'm not worthy. I suck.
So we're going to start with our major moments. I've got 6 major moments that'll walk us through the plot of the movie here. On occasion, I feel like in honor of Wayne's World, on occasion, we need to do like some of the same kind of Wayne's World gags. Because basically, I was trying to explain to my daughter what public access cable was. And I was like, it's basically like podcasters.
Yeah.
It's like people just, people paid for the ability to be on the air really late at night on like a Saturday or Sunday, and they had their own TV show, and it could be whatever they wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, although some of the gags that they use don't work quite as well when you're not a visual medium, I was trying to think how to do the extreme close-up. I think I can do it with a microphone. If I do, it's extreme close-up, whoa, like that.
That's awesome.
There we go. We'll just do an audio extreme close-up. I feel like my family upstairs is probably wondering, like, why is he even louder than he was last week?
Because it's a great movie and it's easy to get excited.
Well, that's what I think. My son was actually downstairs in the like main level of the house, and I'm down in the basement. And his room is typically up in kind of the attic. And I think he texted me or my wife texted me, and he was asking questions like, "Is he always this loud?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, kind of.
We're looking down at John's basement. Mm-hmm. Only that's not John's basement.
Not John's basement. I'm in
Pat,
Delaware.
Pat, you just spoke in haiku. I just, oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. We got to keep talking because there's just so much to unpack.
Okay, so major moments. I got 6 of them. Major moment number 1, I'm calling Party Time Excellent. We get introduced right away to Wayne and Garth and their public access show down in the basement. It is the skit that we know from Saturday Night Live. So if you've seen Saturday Night Live in the late 80s and early 90s, you know what Wayne's World is. You've seen it. You've seen, what did they have? They had Aerosmith was on as a guest one time on Saturday Night Live, and, all kinds of different skits with Wayne and Garth. And so you right away, you kind of know what's going on. You know, you get the vibe of the movie because you immediately go from this to Wayne talking about, his life and having the camera follow him around, the breaking the fourth wall kind of a deal. And then we get, pretty much right away into the Mirthmobile,
mm-hmm.
Which I always thought was just a fun little car.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there was part of me that, like, I believe I had to go look it up. I'm not a car expert, so it is a 1976 AMC Pacer.
That is my understanding.
Okay, so I just always thought it was kind of fun. Little blue car, flames on the side of it. Like, okay, I could see having a car like that.
Could fire that up.
Yeah. And then we get to what I'm calling major moment number 2. The babe can wail, man. The babe can wail. And that is when we get to the gasworks, and we get to the moment that he meets Cassandra and kind of starts to fall in love with her a bit. And we kind of get simultaneously, although we don't find out as much about Garth's dream woman, but we kind of get the dueling dream women kind of sequences where Garth falls over. He gets knocked down every time he sees his. And Wayne is kind of like immediately you get the, you get all of the like sparkly stars and everything else.
Yes. You
get the, get the Dreamweaver.
Mm-hmm.
Which sounds a little bit like this.
Dreamweaver.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know you were in this movie.
Yeah, man. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Love that Dreamweaver sequence. Garth getting hit. Ow.
I fell down. Makes me feel kind of funny, like when we used to climb the ropes in gym class. Although good for him, I never could climb the rope in gym class.
Yeah, I just remember kind of hanging there.
I think I opted out. Major moment number 3, Benjamin buys the show. What foreshadowing here, I can foreshadow a little bit for you here. Benjamin is nobody's friend. Okay? If imagine the worst ice cream flavor you can think of, and that's Benjamin. So Benjamin does buy the show. They do take some time to peruse the contract. I like what you've done here. Yes. There have been moments where, and I'll fully admit this, there have been moments where, as a teacher, when a student would bring me a piece of their writing and want me to look over it right then and there, I will admit that there have been moments where I did treat part of it like how Wayne treats the contract.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I like what you've done here. I think we can work with this.
Yes.
No.
And so great seeing Rob Lowe, who had never done comedy, was not a comedic actor.
Yeah.
And, sometimes these things in the, little blurb trivia things sometimes get blown out of proportion. But according to the stuff I read, they said that Mike Myers and Dana Carvey helped him kind of, work his comedy chops, and he kind of helped them with the idea of shooting a movie, working on a film like that. So,
which I'm so glad they helped him out with that, because he is hilarious in The West Wing.
And he's Parks and Rec, right?
Parks and Rec. He is literally one of the funniest parts of Parks and Rec.
And there were a lot of things that they said came out in this movie that then he would use in later gigs. So I just find that stuff kind of cool. And he's not really the straight man, because he's the, he's the bad guy. And so usually isn't like the guy, don't they normally say the straight man? He's kind of the, he's kind of a sidekick or something like that, and as opposed to the antagonist. But, so that description might be a little bit off, but my gosh, just the contrast with him and Wayne and Garth is just comedic gold,
And we haven't, Rob Lowe, I mean, still pretty young at this point too, but we haven't on the actual podcast. The last movie we did with Rob Lowe in it was About Last Night from '86.
Okay.
So it's been a while since we've covered a movie that Rob Lowe was in, but yeah, all serious roles. He was in The Outsiders back in '83, but we didn't do that movie.
Yeah, and he looks the same no matter what year it is.
Pretty much, yeah. He doesn't. I don't think he changes at all.
I know. There must have been something in the water, because Tom Cruise, all those guys. So.
So Benjamin buys the show, and we have some different interactions with, and Wayne's World is a little bit, I think, being born as a sketch on Saturday Night Live. I mean, there are moments where some of the movie, and we've talked about this before with other movies, like you can tell that the comedians are used to like a sketch show. So it's like a series of sketches, and sometimes with some movies they don't fit together quite as well. But I think this one does a pretty good job of fitting together an overall movie, not a long movie, not a super complicated movie, but you've got your A story, and it follows that pretty well and pretty consistently, but you do have those little moments of, okay, we're going to go do this little skit over here. We're going to do this little thing over here. We're going to have Stacy, run her bicycle into the car over here with the neck brace on. And so you've got the little skits, but they seem to fit pretty seamlessly into the rest of the movie.
100% hard agree. I think it's amazing, and I think that they should study this movie for how they do it, because you're exactly right. It's a fun plot. It's a fun seeing these guys, and how do you expand, and there's been some failures out there, how do you expand a sketch comedy thing into an actual movie? And very carefully and with great attention to detail, boy, they nail it. And the stuff where they focus, and I'm just using more words to say the same thing you did, the stuff where they focus on the sketches are hilarious. Yeah. And I was trying to be the jerk. I was trying to be critical. I was trying to be like, okay, where is it going to be like, it doesn't happen. And it's down to like, if they had lingered on that scene or that look or that whatever for another second, it would have been too much. Or if they would have stopped it a second early, it would have been like, oh, okay, that scene didn't quite do it for me. They, whatever phrase you want to use, thread the needle, walk the line, whatever, they did it perfectly in this movie. Because as soon as, okay, no, I'm sorry, you never got to that. You never got to, okay, let's move on to something else. You got the sketch comedy, bam, now you're back in the plot. Okay, you got a little bit of the romance thing, bam, now you got the sketch comedy. Okay, now you got the bad guys plotting. Okay, well, now we're going to let the comedian, they did it perfectly with this movie, John. I mean, it is like, and it's down to the second. I mean, it is put together perfectly.
Yeah. So we do get, and there's a little bit of tension. Like when Benjamin buys the show, starts to be a little bit of tension because Cassandra kind of gets pulled into that too. And Wayne has this fear that Cassandra is going to go off with him because he's got more money, more prestige, more power, all this other, like he can provide her with opportunities that Wayne does not have the ability to provide for her. And so he's a little insecure about this and starts to kind of in his own mind, play up some ideas of how Benjamin is gonna take his girl. And so we do get right before they come in for their first big recording. That is the scene where they do get sent off to Milwaukee to go to the Alice Cooper concert. And I do have the clip from that scene where they're backstage with him.
So, do you come to Milwaukee often?
Well, I'm a regular visitor here, but Milwaukee has certainly had its share of visitors. The French missionaries and explorers were coming here as early as the late 1600s to trade with the Native Americans.
In fact, isn't Milwaukee an Indian name?
Yes, Pete, it is. Actually, it's pronounced Miliwake, which is Algonquin for the good land.
I was not aware of that.
I think one of the most interesting aspects of Milwaukee is the fact that it's the only major American city to have ever elected 3 socialist mayors.
Does this guy know how to party or what? Huh? Huh?
Yeah.
And then when they get back from the concert, it's Wayne's World 2.0. And they go sit down they get on the couch and they're ready for the recording. And it starts in with the Wayne's World.
Yeah,
excellent. Party on, Wayne. Party on, Garth. Wayne's World, sponsored by Noah's Arcade.
Yeah, party on. I mean, and it's perfect. So again, I don't want to pretend to be like I totally know it. But the way I see that is that played so well. And I was just reading this article the other day about Janine Garofalo, actually. Big fan. And it was talking about her and her stand-up comedy, and it was talking about Gen X, and it was a really interesting article. And they were talking about how, like, for Gen Xers and for people of that, like, the idea of selling out, right? That was like a big no-no. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I didn't quite process this until I was young. I mean, I wasn't like an adult by any stretch of the imagination when this came out, but I remember that discussion, and you'd always be talking about a band that was, oh, that band, someone would be like, that band sold out. Well, how did that band sell out? They made a really popular record that everybody bought. Right. You want the band to have if they're really artists, they only have like 40 people in the audience and other people don't like them, right. Or, oh, what happened? Well, this person's corporate now. They've gone pop, or that was so much in the air at that time. So this thing that came out, like, you know what I'm saying? Where they put this in, that plays so perfectly. I mean, it's on one level, it's okay. This is part of the plot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is part of the of a hour and a half comedic, lighthearted movie. Okay, they took it over and blah. But the way that lands, and you can still feel that today. That was so prevalent with how we all thought and felt. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. You don't want people to sell out. Like, death before selling out. And I think the way they did that, it was great. It was great writing. They acted it so well. And I mean, the director, I want to say that the director was like not super well known. I think what I found was that she'd done some,
mostly documentaries, wasn't she?
Yeah, in like indie movies. And they said that one of the things she did was had interacted with like metalheads and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like some underground stuff. So I would imagine, and boy, I'm like, please, anybody, if I'm wrong, correct me. Let's get the record straight. But the way I see it is that she would be very much seeing that. You know what I'm saying? So the way she puts the scenes together and does the direction, in part with the writing, in part with the acting, you know, they just have a handle on this feeling of you don't sell out. So this scene has all the things that just make you cringe. You know what I'm saying? It's like someone having their thumb on the pulse for what's scary at you know, and we can make great horror movies. The people that made this movie had such a thumb on the pulse that when you've got a 14, 15, 16, 17, early 20s year old kid watching this movie for the first time, that scene is just gonna make your skin crawl. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because it's just, I mean, it's just like, all right, party on, Wayne, I guess. Or not party on, party on, Garth, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they made some great artistic choices.
Yes.
And it's the choice of a new generation.
Yeah, and then they have that whole thing.
Well, it's funny, and I think Nora was kind of chuckling at that part too, because many, many, many years ago, we were sitting down watching something, and I explained to her about product placement. And I remember telling her something about, oh, well, you know, if you see like a Starbucks cup or a Pepsi can or something like that in a movie, that means that Starbucks has paid for their items to be in that movie or in that TV show or whatever. And so every once in a while, even as a little kid, like she'd point things out. She'd be like, oh, look, product placement. Mm-hmm. And like, So I saw her smiling during that whole scene of like, you know, I really would never sell out, like holding up the bag of Doritos and.
Mm-hmm. Oh, all this discussion has given me a headache. Yeah. Suddenly we're in the black and white.
Take these.
Try this.
Little yellow, different.
New print. Mm-hmm. Can you even get new print? You probably could get new print anymore. I don't even know.
I think you can. You know what? Actually, I was using, I might still have I don't have the sound ready to go on here, but on our other hit podcast, the podcast Full of Kryptonite, I would use that sound drop for little, yellow, different whenever we talk about the X-Kryptonite from that show, because it's yellow.
Right.
So I always have that ready to go as why don't you just try some X-Kryptonite?
I remember that.
Little, yellow, different.
I remember that.
Newprin's good stuff. So then we move into Operation Get Cassandra Back, which is a beautifully overly complicated plan. Mm-hmm. In order to get Cassandra back and also set her up with Frankie Sharp of Sharp Records. And so they have this very elaborate plan of tasking satellites and all kinds of other stuff. And, you know, Wayne ends up quickly interacting with the T-1000 for a moment. And so ultimately the whole thing does come together. And even Officer Koharski is able to help out. He's able to give a hand to help out and stall Benjamin for just a little bit.
There's one more thing. Smack.
It's one more thing. He is able to give him a hand, and I think it works out. I think it works out in the end, as the actress said to the bishop.
Yeah, as the actress said to the bishop.
And then we end the movie. Major moment. Our final major moment here is what I am calling not Doctor Strange, but Wayne Campbell in the multiverse of endings.
Mm-hmm.
We get the Scooby-Doo ending. We get the apocalyptic ending. We get the ultra happy ending.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie, and you get to the end of the movie, and it's still like it's making fun of itself. It's so lighthearted. It's just fun.
Yes. It is fantastic.
So I'm going to take us into our deep thoughts. I feel like we've already shared a bunch of them, so I think I'm going to take us into our deep thoughts, and I'm only going to ask like one or two questions, and then we'll get on into our three questions, because I kind of feel like we've been sharing some of our thoughts on like how the movie is made and how they kept it, you know, how they put it together, what seems like so seamlessly. You know, so I don't know if we have a whole lot of other deep thoughts, but let me go ahead and jump us into our deep thoughts here, and we'll see what we got.
And now, deep thoughts.
I'm not even going to ask the stupid question of, do you like this movie? I think we've probably we've established that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate this movie. Not. Excuse me. I'm sure Wayne will be fine with that. Not.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yeah. What is, if you had to pick one thing, doesn't even necessarily have to be a scene, what is most memorable for you about this movie? Like when you think of Wayne's World, you said you watch it a couple times a year. When you think of Wayne's World, like what is it? What's the first image that pops into your mind?
Yeah, the gut reaction is opening up that soundtrack and listening to it till, I mean, you don't wear the grooves off of CDs.
Right.
In the same manner that you would with a record. But
I've mentioned before, this is the first CD I ever bought with my own money.
It is so good.
Yeah.
And again, how good Tia Carrere sounds. Unfortunately, I think her cover of the tune "Touch Me," I don't think is on the album. I could be wrong because I've got to dig the album. I got to dig the soundtrack out of somewhere and check because I look on the YouTube playlist.
I'm looking at it right now.
Is it on there?
I do not see it on here.
Yeah. See, and I remember thinking, oh man. That being said, what is most memorable for me now?
Yeah, there's only 2 songs on here by Tia Carrere.
Right. It's probably the Why You Want to Break My Heart and then
Why You Want to Break
Blitz?
My Heart and Ballroom Blitz. Yeah.
Yeah. The man at the back said everyone. I mean, just fantastic. So here's, and I'm going to try. I don't want to just take 20 minutes to try and get these words out.
Yeah.
I think this movie is so much of its time, and in the same breath, it's so timeless, right? It's timeless because now we're playing this for our kids,
right?
Okay, and they're laughing, and they're getting the humor. And if maybe we have to explain the Laverne and Shirley thing, well, then there's the gift there because now you get to tell them about old television shows that they don't make shows like that anymore, right?
Right.
And I remember there were places that, long story short, I'll just say I was out with my grandparents. Someone dropped a reference and I was just like about Archie and his dingbat wife. Yeah. Right. And I looked at my grandma like, what is, and she goes, oh, that's Archie Bunker. And I was hanging out with my grandparents and we went home and 10:30 that night, my grandma fired on the television and I was watching All in the Family. And you think about how, that whole thing. And I think that that's a gift that this movie gives, but Wayne and Garth are so much like, Bill and Ted or any of these other like rock out dudes that were like, yeah, these guys are awesome. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same token, it is so much of its time. I think it informed a whole generation of people like our age and a little bit older. Right. How you speak and view the world, and it just became part of it, right? Yeah. So sort of like, and I mean, I'm trying to think of the other stuff that did that, like Seinfeld did. It's like that Seinfeld episode, that kind of thing. This movie, you hear those things, not you say those things. I mean, there's so much just how we talk, how we speak, and how we look at things and carry it is so much based off of, I think, largely this movie. It will be mine. Oh yes, it will be mine. And
every single time in my car, if I pull up next to somebody I know, I have them roll down the window and ask them if they have any Grey Poupon.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And I mean, that's it. And the whole Bohemian Rhapsody and bringing that back out, and just the way that Dana Carvey and Mike Myers bring those characters to life is amazing. And, I'm still thinking of the scene where he goes like, I'd like to try the Stratocaster. And he's like, again, yes. Are you going to try? Yes. Like the way he says yes. I mean, it's just that attention to detail. So what is most memorable about this is how much this movie like informed a generation after, you know, like how we view the world. And it's such a part of our pop culture that its influence is still being felt, you know, with the quotes, the way we look at things, the references. Oh, I know. I was going to say, Wayne and Garth, like Bill and Ted, or Jay and Silent Bob.
Yep.
And Clerks was another movie that like was a movie of its time that informed a whole generation of people. So what is most memorable is just how formative this was a part of the pop culture. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to make this nice and easy. I'm going to take what you said, and I'm going to pull a Ghost and say ditto.
Oh, shoot. I stole all your stuff, man. I'm sorry.
No. I think you said it better than I could. So, no, same thing. Like, it just, I remember growing up, and I feel like even before, I mean, I think we might be an ultra nerdy example of this, but you have a group of friends that like you talk in movie quotes kind of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up, this is one of the first movies that I can remember that people spoke in movie quotes.
Yes.
Like that this was, like you said, it became kind of so much of the, you know, for me, I was in elementary moving into middle school at the time. And, you know, even on into high school, it was still like so much of the vocabulary of this movie was continually getting used.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I'm going to say something else too. And boy, if someone that is, you know, if any of our female listeners or want to like write in and tell me where I got this wrong, but what a great like main character you have in Cassandra. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, boy, I could be way off, and you don't want to ask me. You want to ask like our wives, you know, and see what their or our daughters and ask their perspective. But she didn't strike me as in this one as the damsel in distress.
Yeah, not at all.
That needed to be rescued. She was an interesting character. She was like, you know, strong-willed. She was talented, and the way Tia Carrere brought it. I mean, what she did with that role was amazing. Like, half the time there's a funny scene, the way she reacts is the thing that takes it up to 11. Yeah. And sometimes it's by not reacting, right? And that's what I love about the comedy is sometimes people do stuff and she's like trying to figure out like, what the heck? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, she is right there with all the stuff Mike Myers and Dana Carvey are doing.
Yeah.
She is like right there for it. And then you throw in the fact she did her singing. I mean,
right.
Like, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Pat, I know we fear change, but are you ready for 3 questions?
I'm ready.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
See, one of the things people don't know about the podcast is that we do have, we're on Zoom for the video part, so we can see each other, but the rest of this is all audio. So what they can't see is that for each of these different times that I play one of these, I'm doing a 5, 4, 3. I'm doing a countdown for you. So it'll be John's job to give the actors their hand cue.
Excuse me, Benjamin. I believe I requested. What? You didn't say 2 or 1. You don't say 2 or 1.
Don't say 2 or 1.
Why don't you say 2 or 1? You just don't. And then there's one of them. There's one of them where he says 2 and he starts laughing like the guy. Oh man! And then it's just like, guys, please don't count along.
Yeah. Okay, you're nodding your heads. Don't nod your heads.
And then, oh my gosh,
and
their
just
looks
like frozen like statues.
I know, but still looking at him. Oh, it's so great. Oh
all
my
right.
gosh! Hey, we're in Delaware.
I'm in Delaware. All right. Question number 1. Did you ever find Bugs Bunny attractive when he put on a dress and played a girl bunny?
No.
No.
No. Okay,
No.
neither did I.
Neither did I.
Just checking.
Just checking. That's not really question number one. It could be. It could be. Question number one. What is your favorite movie? And thank you again. You came up with the 3 questions for us this time. So,
all right, man.
What is your favorite movie featuring source material from a sketch comedy show?
Dude, after all this talk, I might have to just say this one. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've loved Blues Brothers for so long, though.
That is my answer.
Okay. So you got Blues Brothers.
I got Blues Brothers.
I'll take this.
Okay.
And we got it all covered. But then, and then I was actually doing the research to see what else, Monty Python was all, it started as Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I've got to throw Holy Grail on the leaderboard.
Holy Grail, Life of Brian. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I thought of a fun, if we wanted to refer, what is your favorite cable access show?
Mm-hmm.
Cause and it's funny, cause that would be a whole talk, as a side question. But no, if I had to say one, if you're saying Blues Brothers, which I would totally say Blues Brothers, I'll take this one. Then we got them both up there, and honorable mention being Holy Grail, Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah. Do you would you count Bob Ross as cable access? It kind of had a look and feel, but I think was that still PBS?
I think that was PBS.
Okay.
I don't remember. Mystery Science Theater was cable access, right?
Oh, was it really?
It was, and it started up.
That.
Yeah, it was started up in Minnesota. Because when I was up in Eau Claire, and obviously right by the Minnesota border, so you had a lot of Minnesota students, and man, doesn't everybody watch it? But I mean, it's I remember just watching that all the time. And my one buddy broke it down for me. He goes, yeah, if you look back, it was like a Minnesota cable access show. And that's why a lot of their early humor centers around Minnesota and Wisconsin and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if many other cable access shows that really made it, like that. But yeah, that would be an interesting rabbit hole to go down.
I was looking up just real quick, just out of curiosity. There is a Wikipedia page that has a list. I don't think it's exhaustive at all. List of American public access television programs.
Nice.
And so they do start off. They tell you how long it lasted, how many episodes there were, the location, the home TV station. So that's anybody wants to go down that rabbit hole, feel free.
Yeah, that was, and even that, the whole concept is so of that time. There was a cable access show where I went to college where this guy would get on and from midnight to 3 a.m. you could call in and ask him to sing a song, and he just on the spot would he was dude with a guitar. And he'd sing a song, and I think he had a band a couple times. Some guys just jamming with him, and believe it or not, I fell asleep. And so they call. And it was 1 or 2, and we're all hanging out, and they called him hey, we want you to do a song for our friend Pat who fell asleep. And so I think they got it recorded. That would be, if I could get that. But it was a dude standing in front of a, now we'd call it like a backdrop, a green, just a little cheap backdrop that you would use in photography or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's just standing there with his guitar, and sometimes other musicians all right, Pat, are you asleep? Wake up, man! Pat, wake up! And he'd just make a song on the spot about whatever you'd ask for, and it was very entertaining. I'll tell you that.
Very cool.
Oh man, fun stuff.
Question number 2: what is your favorite Alice Cooper tune?
Man, what jerk came up with these questions?
I know.
So again, I'm just gonna say that Unfortunately, I feel bad even saying it, a casual fan. I know of Alice Cooper. I know of all the popular tunes. Everything I listen to, I dig. So I just got to get a whole bunch of his albums and just be listening to it. And I already started. I got 7 or 8 of them, and I'm just listening through them and all that. If I had to pick a favorite tune, I'd have to say Poison.
Mm-hmm.
I love that tune. You can rock out to it. If you're with a special someone, it could be in some ways construed romantic. You can dance to it. Great guitar work. And I'll tell you, I fell down a rabbit hole the other day of just listening to Alice Cooper and checking out some of his live stuff. And man, he is, well, obviously he's just had some pretty incredible musicians with him, but the last couple of years he's had this guitarist who I think she just left. And I think who's she playing? I think she's playing with Demi Lovato now.
Okay.
But like I found a bunch of stuff of her playing, like the opening guitar solo on it, and it's like legit. It is amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd have to say that would be my favorite Alice Cooper song. So Poison.
Actually, I'll play a little bit of it for you here.
Oh yeah, you will. Yeah, you will.
The guitar is just so awesome in that song.
It's amazing. And like I said, if you listen to any of the live stuff, and I was listening to like the live stuff from back like the 80s and then the current stuff, it's amazing because I think he lets the guitarist just solo. Yeah. And so the most recent guitarist before she left was that I was listening to. And again, I'm not an expert. I'm becoming more of a fan. Listening audience, don't get mad at me. I'm becoming more of a fan, but it was like she just left. I think her name was Nina Strauss.
Okay.
And like she just lights it up. I mean, she is just cruising. She is wailing on this thing, and then it goes into that opening guitar riff, and the audience is just fired up from the guitar solo. Then that riff comes out of it, and it's just like it just right over the edge. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's a great tune. It's a great tune. It's a great tune.
Again, like you said, casual fan. So I mean, I always like the song "The Feed My Frankenstein" from this movie.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one, I mean, of course, we maybe just from overkill. We always had schools out. They'd play over the PA system at school on the last day of school every year. I think I got to go with one of the classics here. This will be my choice. Which, oddly enough, I feel like I sang this to myself a lot during work during the pandemic.
Yeah, man. yeah, you did.
Uh-huh.
That's
no more Mr. Nice Guy here.
Yeah, and you just think of that, like how far this guy's career has spanned in rock. That he's just great choices.
Yeah. All right,
choices.
Question number 3, and you had some other question options here, but I'm like, this would not be the 30-something movie podcast without devolving into a food-related question. What is your favorite place to get donuts? And I added the second part of the question here. And what is your favorite flavor?
Oh, to get donuts, that's going to be hard because I never met a donut I didn't like. You know what I'm saying? And
as the actress said to the bishop.
Yeah, and I love
See, it's starting to become natural, Pat.
It'll
slide its way into our vocabulary.
As the okay, so I think that boy, I'm gonna give you two answers. I like any like cake, like old fashioned like cake donuts.
I'm glad you're giving two answers because I'm going to give two answers too.
Okay, there it is. See, okay, well, we're making them for the guys that couldn't be here with us tonight, and we're covering them. So I would say that, and there's this place by my dad's house that has really good ones, but I found any like the hole in the wall, old school kind of bakery donut shop just has some of the tastiest donuts. Okay.
Yeah.
Option 1. Option 2, I would say go to a farm stand or a corn, a farm with like a corn maze and pick your own pumpkins and all that Oktoberfest kind of stuff and get an apple cider donut.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be my favorite. Like if you're sitting outside and it's a little chill in the air and you're hanging out with people and just it's all chill and just happy times, an apple cider donut, that place would be my favorite. And as far as flavor for the other, like just that bakery kind of storefront donut place, I would say like a blueberry donut would be my favorite.
Mm-hmm. I'm there with you. When you were talking about options, you're like option 1, option 2. I was like camera 1, camera 2,
camera 2,
camera 1,
camera 1,
2.
Camera 2.
So mine, I have two specific places, probably my two favorite places I've had donuts from. And of course there's always the like small family owned, hole in the wall kind of places. And, there was a place in Libertyville that until they closed, it was called Lee's Donuts. They had really good donuts. We'd go there a lot. But the two places I think that would be my favorites that I've been to in the last few years, there's one locally here near where we work and near where I live, in Libertyville, Illinois, called Duck Donuts. Have you ever had the Duck Donuts?
I have heard of Duck Donuts. I have never had Duck Donuts.
They make them fresh right in front of you as you are ordering them. Pat, they have a donut that is called it's called Bacon in the Sun. It is maple icing topped with chopped bacon and salted caramel drizzle.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh no! Oh
Pat,
dear Lord!
It'll to paraphrase the tagline for Superman the Motion Picture, you'll believe a man can get acute diabetes.
You'll believe a man can fly.
Yeah. Yes. And then one of their other flavors that I had one time that we ordered some of these was a blueberry lemonade.
Ooh,
it was
that
tasty.
Sounds really interesting.
It was good stuff.
Interesting.
So they have some excellent donuts there. One of my favorite places that we went to, just for the novelty of it, was when we were in Portland a few years ago. We had to stop at Voodoo Donuts.
Okay.
And so I got the Voodoo Doll donut, which is basically a raspberry jelly filled donut with chocolate frosting, and it looks like it's shaped like a voodoo doll, and there's like a pretzel stick going through his heart, and
interesting.
Yeah, it was fun stuff. We went there, and I think what did Nora get? John got the dirt donut, which I think is like a vanilla frosting with Oreo cookies all over it.
Okay.
And Nora got the grape ape, which is a like vanilla frosting, grape dust, and purple sprinkles.
Okay, there you go.
It's really good stuff, though.
Cool.
All right. I think that's it for the 3 questions.
I think we've done it, John.
Now I just want to go get a donut.
No kidding. I want to get a donut. Mm-hmm. This night makes coffee and crullers stat.
Why don't you just go eat another donut, Pat?
I know.
Just go eat another donut.
Oh, man.
All right. Patrick, thank you as always for being here with me. If people want to find out more about the show, they can go over to 30podcast.com. I feel like I should have had like an electric guitar so I can't play anything, but that I could just play us out with the kind of.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll just imagine it, or I'll fix it in post. We'll do that.
Yeah, edit it in post.
Edit in post. Our next episode's coming out. So Patreon this month is Best Motorcycle Movies. You are going to want to come over for that one. So if you are not with us on Patreon already, any level of support gets you access to those episodes. So we've got that one as our full-length August Patreon episode. We've also got 2 Patreon shorts for this month. One is Creep Show from 1982. It was a super, super fun horror movie from 82 based on, I'll even call it horror comedy because, they're just kind of funny too. But Creep Show from 82 will be one of our Patreon shorts, and The Secret of Nim from 1982 will be our other Patreon short. Our last episode for the month is White Men Can't Jump, and then we slide on into the month of September, and we've got Medicine Man, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, is a 40th anniversary special.
Wow.
And we're hoping to get one of our guest hosts, our Patreon co-executive producer, Rob Perry, on there with us.
Awesome.
And then Lorenzo's Oil, Forever Young, and Death Becomes Her. And if you are one of our Patreon folks, the full-length episode for September will be The Dark Crystal, and then the Patreon shorts will be Cat People and Q, the Winged Serpent.
Wow.
And then, Pat, do you know what we're kind of getting close to? It's your favorite month of the year, Pat.
It's October.
We're getting close to October. Much like Vicky Vale in Purple, I love October.
I know, John. What do we got lined up for us in October?
What do we have lined up for October?
What do I have to prepare myself for?
Okay. Prepare yourself, Pat. I don't know yet about the Patreon shorts. I know that our Patreon episode will be The Last House on the Left from 1972.
Okay.
In terms of regular episodes, it's actually going to be a fun one. I think you're going to really enjoy this October.
Okay.
Because they're not like super scary.
Right.
Right. So this October, we have got Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Nice.
We have Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
We have Army of Darkness.
I had dreams of this day, John.
Right, there we go. And the dream for me is to finish the month off with Alien 3.
Oh, here we go.
So
here we go.
In which I have been tasked with defending my love of Alien 3. And I'm
saying not without controversy.
He tasks me. He tasks me.
There's a little bit of back and forth with that one.
I understand, and everyone has the right to be wrong, so it's okay.
There it is, man.
Totally
Shots fired.
I'm
Shots
fine.
fired.
I'm fine. All right. Pat, that's going to do it for Wayne's World.
That's going to do it, John. What a great movie.
I think we just need to go watch Wayne's World again.
That needs to happen.
Done.
Yes.
All right. Everybody, be excellent to each other. Party time. Be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies. We'll see you back.
Thank you, everyone.
A listener says what?